right. Well, hello, my friends, and welcome back to another episode of Land Stories Live. I am your host, Dave Deniston of Generation Family Properties LLC, where our goal is to help hundreds of people like you own land. And most of all, we want to tell your land story. Well, today, my friends, I am flying solo once again. And you know what that means? I got some bad dad jokes. But not only that, we are going to continue our series about the largest landholders in America. And today, we are going to cover the seventh largest landholder in America. Also, today, our featured property is a brand new one in Otero County, New Mexico. And if you are watching this, I don't have the background because I'm here in my wife's office, which has all these beautiful pink and purple colors, which really mess up the background that I usually use. But with no further ado, let's talk about the bad dad jokes. All right, here we go. Are you ready? Are you ready? Are you ready? Are you ready? Bad dad joke number one. So a guy goes into a doctor's office. He's been injured. He looks up at the doctor and he asks, "Doc, when this heals, will I be able to play the piano?" The doctor answers, "Well, yes, of course." He replies back, "Great. I always wanted to play the piano." Ba-dum-bum-bum. Get it? He always wanted to play the piano. He didn't play it before. Anyhow. All right. Bad dad joke number two. What do you call the fear of being trapped in a chimney? Claustrophobia, spelled C-L-A-U-S. Claustrophobia. See, like Santa Claus? Get it? Get it? Claustrophobia, fear of being trapped in a chimney. I hope it brings a little joy to your day. I amuse myself. If that's the worst thing that happens, that's not a bad thing. All right. So today in our educational segment, we are continuing talking about the 10 largest landholders in the family. In episode 10, we talked about the Pingree family, which owns tons and tons of land up in Maine. Number 9, we talked about Stan Kroenke, who owns 865,000 acres of land. He's the guy that owns the Rams and some other sports teams. Number 8, we talked about the King family, who owns over 900,000 acres in Texas that Christy actually had spent some time on in the future. Number 7, the one we're talking about today, this gentleman's name is Henry Singleton. He passed away in 1999. As a matter of fact, over 14 years, he purchased 28 ranches. 28 ranches. In his later years, he went back to raising cattle when he got into the land business, but he wasn't always in that. What's interesting about this particular gentleman, he was a corporate guy, corporate executive. Definitely came from pretty insubstantial means. He wasn't someone who came from a ton of money. He was raised in Texas, just a few miles northwest of Fort Worth. His education began in Arlington, and then he got an appointment to the U.S. Naval Academy over in Maryland. His roommate, George Roberts, was someone that would end up being important to him. So during his first 2 years in math, first 2 years in the Navy, he ranked first in mathematics in a class of 820 students. So he was definitely a bright guy. Unfortunately, he had a recurring medical problem that made it necessary for him to leave the academy in 1938, right before World War II had broken out. So he gets out of the Navy Academy, and now he goes to study electrical engineering at MIT. And graduated in 1940, getting both a bachelor's and a master's in the field. So obviously, this is one heck of a smart guy. As a matter of fact, he was a member of a 3-man team that won the Putnam Prize in mathematical competition. And what's interesting about this guy, what I'm reading here is on Wikipedia, for those that may not know what I'm talking about. He got into the ITT Corporation. So he got into a lot of electrical and the start of computer stuff. Then he went back to MIT to get a doctorate in electrical engineering, and ended up getting a mentor that ended up being an advisor to 3 presidents. So his efforts ended up being sponsored by the US Army, which then led to a position with General Electric. And he just had this whole corporate career until finally he left Hughes, which he ended up being with Hughes, and he founded a firm called Electrodynamics. And so with founding that, there ended up being some mergers. And in 1960, these folks, he ended up joining with them to serve as the president of a company. So you can see he kept on changing, kept on moving forward in his career until they formed a company that was an electronics manufacturing plant that they called Teledyne, T-E-L-E-D-Y-N-E. And so that combines semiconductor manufacturing and control system development. So basically, he got into computers in a very early time frame in the 60s. So you can imagine from 1960 to 1990, right? I mean, just huge growth, getting contracts from the military and IBM and Texas Instruments. And then they acquired all kinds of companies. The Teledyne ended up acquiring 34 companies. 34 of them. So he was used to acquiring lots of stuff. And by the time the guy got into the 80s, the company had gone through some struggles in the 70s, but at the end of the day, ended up, the stock went crazy, the Teledyne stock, and he ended up turning over the CEO position in 1986. And around there, he started buying real estate. So as he got into his retirement life, he ended up getting away from that. So by the mid-1980s, that's where he started buying ranches in New Mexico and later in California. So he started with the acquisition of an 81,000-acre ranch, the San Cristobal Ranch, just south of Santa Fe. And in a relatively short time of like 10 years, he bought more than 20 ranches. Most of them were along the corridor from Santa Fe to Roswell and San Miguel and Quay County, and also a 30,000-acre ranch in Guadalupe County. And so they called them the Singleton Ranches, which actually you can go to their website and check them out. He died in 1999, but by the time of his death, he himself owned 1.5% of New Mexico. 1.5%. That is more than 1 out of every 100 acres. 1 out of every 100 acres. And they own today 1.1 million acres in New Mexico and California. And what do they do with this land? It is for cattle and horse breeding and things like that. So the family works there now. As well as a bunch of ranch cowboys and neighbors, and they really take pride in doing what they do. On the ranches, there's all kinds of interesting archaeological stuff. If you end up taking a ride on this land, you're going to go past Indian ruins, and you're going to go past Indian pueblos and petroglyphs, and land that holds old Spanish forts and missions and stuff like that. And so it's a heck of a area to own. And what I thought was particularly interesting about how they've monetized owning all this land, of course, they have the horse, they have the cattle, but they also do a bunch of movie shoots. Excuse me. So an old one, The Cowboys with John Wayne, was shot on one of his ranches in the 70s. Some newer movies, Into the West, Comanche Moon, Seraphim Falls, The Hitcher, Lone Ranger, Thor was shot there, True Grit was shot on his ranches, and Cowboys and Aliens, and even a Chevy truck commercial. So he's repurposed his land as a way to make money doing movie stuff. I mean, you can imagine, probably got paid millions of dollars for doing that with all the land that they have. So definitely very smart business-wise, exciting to see the legacy of what he is leaving for his family. And it inspires me. And I hope it inspires you too. Which, speaking of New Mexico, I wanted to tell you about a property today. I'll go ahead and share my screen now with you at this point. So today we're talking about a property in Otero County, New Mexico. As a matter of fact, this is one of our last properties there right now. And this is a property that's just beautiful. You think of New Mexico a lot of the time, and I don't know about you, but I think about desert. I think about cactus. I think about rockiness. And what's beautiful about this area in Otero County called Tiburon is there are trees, lots and lots and lots of trees. As we look at these pictures, you can see here there's some maintained dirt roads. Here's a neighbor that has a mobile home. Here's a picture of the property. You can see there's some yucca plants and a bunch of trees of various sorts. Again, here's another picture. You can see this has a little bit of an incline, but not much to it. This is a really nice buildable lot for someone that wants to build. Again, more trees here, lots and lots of trees. And you can just imagine with building on this spot, what a great place to have a to be able to take an RV out every so often or something like that. Once you have maybe a nice home. Also, what you have in this property, you have electricity, which is very unusual. You can see a picture of the electrical lines there. Again, the neighbor has a mobile home there. Beautiful views of the mountains, just gorgeous. Looking over. If we take a look at the map here, you can see this particular property is on Hungry Horse Loop, which is this little loop that goes around. And you'll notice there's a number of different houses out here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So 5 in an area that might be a mile or so. A little further to the south, you can see there's a few houses dotted here and there. So there are a few folks that live in this area, but not a ton. And some beautiful trees throughout. There's the city of Tiburon, small little town. There's a bar and a pizza place. Over up here to the northwest of the property is an airstrip. So if you're someone that loves to fly and you have your own private plane, you can fly into the airstrip and meander on over to your place. Tiburon is located up in the Sacramento Mountains up here. So if you're familiar with Cloudcroft, Tiburon is south of Cloudcroft by a bit. If you're familiar with White Sands, New Mexico isn't too far away. Really beautiful national park you can see over here. There's Cloudcroft. There's Alamogordo. So Cloudcroft is also a really nice spot in the mountains. There's Sunspot. If we scroll out a little bit further, you can see you're not too far away from Carlsbad or Roswell, or down here further to the southwest is El Paso. Truth or Consequences to the west. Scroll it a little bit more. Those are all within a couple hour drive, if not hour and a half drive. We scroll out a little bit further, you can see Albuquerque's up to the northwest. Over here to the east is Lubbock. A little further up to the northeast is Amarillo. And so anyone in Texas, Midland, Odessa, El Paso, Lubbock, Amarillo, it's not too far to get to there. Same Albuquerque and Santa Fe and Las Cruces are all not very far away from Tiburon. Now, a little bit more about this property in terms of what you can and can't do. This property is perfect if you're wanting to build. We talked earlier about electricity. Electricity is here. But not only electricity, there is standby water available, where only for $675 you can hook right into the water, which is only about $61 a year plus your usage for it. So not only do you have power, you got water, you got road maintenance, you have parks and golf course and the airline strip we were talking about, all super close. There are a few restrictions on here. the house that you build has to be a minimum of 800 square feet. As we just saw, mobile homes are allowed, and they want it to be within 5 years of manufacture. And certainly you could build a house, you could do a stick-built home, you could do a manufactured home. All of those things are possible. Taxes on this lot, super cheap, only $24 a year, $2 a month. The size of this property is about half an acre in size, so perfect size for someone that wants to build a terrain. This is not in an HOA, so there's no homeowners association here. So there's no HOA dues or anything like that you have to do. All you have to do to develop this is install septic, hook up to the water, and hook up to the electricity, which, as we saw, is all around the property here. And so, my friends, the price of this property, if you are interested in it, is a mere $2,500 if you are paying cash. Or if you're doing owner financing, it is $3,500 plus interest and the $249 document fee. That's it. So certainly if you pay the discounted cash price, you're going to save $1,000. Or if you do owner financing, do a minimum of $249 down and $69 a month. Or you could do more than that, which would lead you there. And so, my friends, that is about this listing. If you have any questions, you have any bad dad jokes, we would love to hear them. Certainly feel free to reach out to me, contact@genfamproperties.com. Would love to share your bad dad jokes in the future. And so, my friends, that wraps up another episode for today. Thank you so much for listening. This is Dave Deniston with Land Stories Live. Make sure to check out all of our properties at www.genfamproperties.com. And if you are looking for land, it would be my honor to personally speak with you. Give me a call, 775-234-2058. Again, that's 775-234-2058. Thank you so much. Have a good one. Bye-bye.